the title of this question is called "Rejected by a Third Church." So last April, I graduated with a master's degree in Christian ministry. I'm 42, so a little bit older. Since then, I've applied for 3 separate positions and have been denied 3 times. One time took 5 months, and they eventually ghosted me. Oh, this time took 3.5 months, and I even got to preach a sermon in front of their entire congregation. The process is brutal, and it seems overly complicated. I'm starting to feel pretty dejected. Does anyone have a similar story that ended in success? Is this part of the course? Any words of encouragement would be awesome. Andrew, what is our common thing that we say to people who are looking for a job?
Well, first of all, you got to call Matt Steen.
Call Matt Steen.
Staffing.
Yep.
Love that guy.
Yeah. I think that the short and quick answer is, unfortunately, this is very common. Like, there's no common. One thing is, like, churches all function differently in their own hiring process. And because of that, most people who are on these like search teams for churches are lay people who are doing this, in the evenings, once a month, or whatever the time frame they have. And so they don't have like a structured process in doing this. And so it's not unusual to go months and then be ghosted. Like, I hate that. I wish this is one of the few times, and even they don't do it well, the few times like the big mega churches have a pretty good process in this because they have a dedicated HR team, a dedicated, executive pastor who focuses on hiring and firing. But even then, they have the propensity of taking months and months and months. And this is why organizations like Chemistry Staffing are so useful in this, because one, they're kind of pushing the church to meet deadlines, and they're keeping you looped in the entire time of where it is. And they'll tell you why you didn't get the job or why you didn't get the next interview or whatever the case may be. So, I'll say this based on some context clues. I don't know, but you're 42 and you just finished your master's degree. Actually, that's not unusual.
That's
not unusual at all. I'm sorry. When I first read this quickly, I thought it was your undergrad. Okay, this is not unusual at all. But I do wonder if this is your first ministry position. If this is, that might be the depending on the position you're looking for, that might be the big overcoming barrier. Because if you're looking for a senior pastor position as your first position outside of your master's degree, that's going to take a very unique church who's willing to take a risk on you. If you are like applying for a youth pastor degree, ministry position or something like that, then the other hurdle that you might be facing is, sadly, churches have a low view of older youth pastors, if that makes sense. Like, they want someone in their mid to late 20s, maybe even younger than that. And so I don't know what position you're applying.
They want someone that can work hard and pay little.
Exactly.
And they don't want a real grown up for that role.
Wow. So 42 years old.
Loves talking about not getting paid.
42 years old. 42 years old. You probably have a family. Your value, or that, maybe value isn't the right word, how much you should be compensated for is going to be higher than most, and therefore
it's going to be higher than most entry level ministry positions.
Right, you have experience they don't have. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. So I there's going to be a lot of responses from this conversation, but I will say this: is it common? Is it yes? Is it brutal? Yes. Is there hope on the other side of this? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. There's people who have been strung along for a year and they finally got the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hate this. I don't like it. This is why if anyone's asking me how should I find my first ministry position, I would tell them to go to Matt Steen, because at minimum you have alerts along the way in the process to kind of know what's going on. Where you going to churchstaffing.com or some job board and just sending a resume to an email address, who knows what that's going to be like. And churches rarely say, here's the timeline. I would encourage you to do this. Your next job you're applying for, say, hey, when you talk to someone, when can I expect a response? And when can I, what has been typically the process for candidates? Ask those questions, because one, you might be the only person asking that question. And two, it gives you a frame of reference of like, okay, this is going to take another 3 or 4 months. So guys, what do you think?
42 is not that old to be finishing a master's degree.
You're right.
No. That's a fairly common thing. I think we are seeing a lot of people go to seminaries as a second career. They got the engineering degree or whatever it was that they did for a decade from undergrad, and then that just wasn't exactly the right fit, or whatever else life brought at them. And in fact, most seminary statistics say that students 35 and older have a way higher GPA than students under 30. It's not even close.
My GPA crushed in
I
seminary.
was gonna say,
Undergrad,
my
Jeff knows, we barely made it. We barely passed Trinity.
2.1, baby. That's how I got out of undergrad.
We barely got out of it.
my
Not
GPA, my last degree was a 1.5 higher than my previous degree, which is not good. I can only speak of the two seminaries I have experience with, but both Dallas and Liberty have extensive job placement offices through the alumni department. So and some schools will charge for something like that, but usually you get those services free for a year at just about any reputable seminary. So there's somebody at your seminary who their job is to help with your resume. Their job is to help connect you with churches. Reach out to them. You're about a year removed from graduating, so this is the time to get in with that. Plus, they have statistics that they have to give to their accrediting board and when they're recruiting, and they want to say X% of our students have a job within a year of graduating. So they really want you to get a job. So reach out to the school. There's an office that's going to help with that. What Frank said about using chemistry staffing, and any of the staffing agencies, we prefer chemistry around here, but Vanderbloemen is great. Slingshot's good. Whoever you want to use, by all means, reach out to them. But if you're preaching in view of a call at these churches, I'm guessing that it's that you're looking at senior pastor positions. And if you feel like that's what you're called to, then it's going to be a long haul. I would be looking into some kind of associate pastor role, a small group pastor role, a church where you're going to be serving with several other pastors for the first few years out of seminary so that you can get your feet wet with other pastors around you before you are pastoring a church on your own. That's what I would suggest that you look into. But first and foremost, I would call the seminary office and say, hey, who's helping? Who do I need to get in contact with?
Yeah.
I want to say, usually this is the thing like Jeff or Andrew says, so it feels a little awkward for me, but have you ever thought about like maybe you can't preach and you don't present well? And there's a lot of red flags about you that you don't know about, kind of like the musician.
Get him, Delmar.
Like, yeah. But not like I said, the only reason I say that is because from experience. Have any of y'all ever met a guy who's in seminary and you're like, I literally don't know one place that I would trust that would hire that guy. But no one's willing to tell them because that's personal. It's not even just your voice. You're like, I have this calling with my life from God. And I'm not saying that about this person, but if people are ghosting you specifically and you go and you do pulpit and then they say no, if you're already doing the pulpit, that means the church is already slanted towards yes, the leadership, something happened in there that made it go no. I would want to know why. And other than we just don't have a good feeling about it, which is what a lot of churches say when they don't want to actually say the thing. So I would encourage if the churches say no, reach out. But in right now space, I would encourage you to find some spiritual leaders in your life, preferably pastors, sit down and say, this is going to be the most difficult thing to hear, but I'm giving you permission. Please tell me, is there anything that are red flags to me as a minister? Because let's be honest, like we've all had that at least one guy where like he is going into tens of $1,000s of debt. I don't know if they're ever going to use that degree. So, but that's one of those things. It's like, I'm not going to tell somebody else how to raise their baby, but if you give them permission, you might learn some things in there as well. So I would encourage, instead of just saying, oh, it's the church process and it's lengthy, which those things are true, I would be doing my own little renovation and saying, okay, what can I do right now to clean up my own stuff if there's anything?
The church hiring process can be slow and painful. I know because I've been a part of it. I've been on a lot of it's volunteer teams. So you've got volunteer search teams who maybe have one or two staff members and they can only meet when we were looking for a worship leader, I could only get the team together once a month to meet. So yeah, it took months and months and months to get the search process going and to find the right person. So yep, it's slow and it's complicated. I would say that your calling in ministry is not defined by the hiring process of a church. You've only applied for 3 churches, 3 positions. Practically speaking, I would expand the search. Maybe open it up to smaller churches, be open to taking on a different role, all while at the same time, don't stop serving. Wherever you're attending, actively serve. Be a part of whatever church you're currently in. And the huge benefit to getting involved with an organization like Matt Steen and his
Chemistry staffing.
glorious company Chemistry Staffing would be you're going to get feedback. That's probably the main thing you need right now. Where did you goof on? As Delmar said, was it just a really poor presentation? Like, were you just not a good public speaker? They'll be able to find out those details for you, because sometimes churches and volunteer teams don't do a good job of telling an applicant why they didn't get the job, but they'd be more open to talking to an organization who could then tell you, here are some things you need to do to work on to get a little bit better. And I don't know. I think there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing against you aligning yourself with an organization that's going to help you. I don't even think they charge you.
They don't.
Like, it's completely free. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Why would you not get involved with an organization that's going to help you find the right fit?
Maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I was reading an article about the church search process, and whoever wrote it, and I wish I could remember who, because I thought this was great, and I've told probably a dozen people since, said that you need to have 7 active applications going at a time if you want to find a role within a 6-month period. And the minute you hear no from a church, you need to be getting more applications out. So I don't know if you've just
That's
found
like only 3
like
no's
if you
so
found 3 churches that you're like, oh, this would be the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
You need to apply at some places that won't be that aren't what you think is the sweet spot. God is sovereign in all things, and I'm assuming you believe that. Otherwise, you wouldn't have just spent that time and energy getting that ministry degree. So trust God, trust the process. But really, you need to be applying for as many open positions as will fit you and your context and your skills. So keep applying, and the minute that you hear a no, just say okay, and then apply to the next one.
Agreed.
Well, this was a good episode of the podcast. Hopefully those friends can benefit from the answers that we gave them. We will be back same time, same place next week. We hope to see you there. Make sure you check out Church Staffing. And again, even though we're not
Church
sponsored,
staffing?
We'll check them out too, I guess.
Go to the Youth Specialties Job Board.
check
Go
out
to
myspace.com.
sbc.org/jobs.
No.
You can find every Southern Baptist church job opening.
check out Church Merch. We love them. And also, even though they're not sponsored, check out Chemistry Staffing. That's see how that messed up? Church Merch, Chemistry Staffing, Church Staffing.
Get that.
All right. With that being said, I'm Frank Gill. I'm Jeff Simpson.
I'm Delmar Pete.
I'm Andrew Larson.
And I'm Timothy Miller.
We'll see you next week. Bye.